Have you ever talked yourself out of something you really wanted? A business idea, a promotion, a speaking opportunity, starting a podcast, launching a new product, making an investment in yourself? Not because it was a bad idea, but because you weren't sure if it would work. I know I have. In fact, one of the best decisions I've ever made almost didn't happen because I was scared. Scared of the investment, scared of being wrong, scared it wouldn't pay off. And I almost let that fear make the decision for me. Today, I want to talk about something I believe separates people who continue to grow from those who stay stuck. Not talent, not intelligence, not experience, but the willingness to try, or perhaps a better question is, what if it works? We'd like to thank our presenting gold sponsors. Avanto, transforming your workflow from design to cash without the chaos. And the Collaborative Network, a platform where leaders in the contract interiors industry unite. This episode is brought to you in part by Avanto, the workflow automation software built exclusively for the commercial furniture industry. Avanto automates the full quote-to-cash cycle for manufacturers, dealers, rep groups, and installers. Quoting, order entry, AP processing, PDF to CIF conversion, and more without replacing your existing systems. Over 130 companies trust Avanto to run their operations. Learn more at goavanto.com. Welcome back, or welcome to the Trend Report, your inside look at the people, products, and ideas shaping the future of workplace design. I'm your host, Ed Meadows, and I'm glad that you've joined me for another conversation with just you and me. You know, friend, recently I've been reflecting on the leaders I admire most: business owners, entrepreneurs, designers, innovators, and more. The people who seem to create momentum in their lives and businesses while others remain stuck. And the more I think about it, the more that I realize they seem to share three common things. They act before they're ready. They learn through action, and they understand the real risk. So let's talk about each of them. Act before you're ready. Most people believe confidence comes first. I don't think that's true. I think confidence is often the result of action. We tell ourselves we need more information, more experience, more resources, more certainty. But what if that's not really the issue? What if we're just simply afraid? A few weeks ago, I attended Clerkenwell Design Week in London. And one of the things that stood out to me was the courage of so many small brands and designers. They were introducing products that were different, unique, unconventional, and some of them may never become a commercially available product. But that's not the point. The point is that someone believed in an idea enough to put it into the world. They acted before they knew exactly how people would respond. And that's what courage looks like. Not certainty and not guarantees. Action. So ask yourself these questions. What am I waiting to start? What would I do if I stopped waiting for certainty? What am I pretending to need before I take the next step? Because the truth is, friend, most of us aren't waiting for the opportunity. We're waiting for permission. So let's talk about learn through action. You know, when I started my business in 2017, coaching was at the center, the core of what I was doing. The problem was something didn't feel right. I had clients, the business was growing, but coaching often felt for me more like I was managing people than helping them discover their own answers. And I knew there had to be a better way. After an exhaustive search for coaching programs, I discovered IPEC, the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching. And I know that I've talked about IPEC on this show before. It was such an impactful program for me. And I got to tell you, I was really excited about this program. I had my student enrollment coaching session, and then I heard the price. It was $10,000 for a year-long program that met in person 4 times a year and then had all these things that happen in between the in-person sessions. And at that point in my business, that felt enormous. And honestly, I walked away. I convinced myself I couldn't afford it. The timing wasn't right. I wasn't ready. I told myself all of these things we tell ourselves when we're afraid. But eventually, I came to the realization I wasn't afraid of spending the money. Friend, I was afraid of betting on me. I was afraid of betting on myself. So I did it. I pulled the trigger and I enrolled. And it became one of the most important and impactful decisions I have ever made in my entire adult life. Not because I received a certification, but because it transformed me. And it transformed how I coach, how I lead, and how I see myself. I became a better person because of that investment. So here's the lesson. I didn't learn any of this by thinking. I learned it by doing. So here's what I want you to ask yourself, these questions. Where am I trying to think my way forward instead of acting my way forward? What investment in myself have I been avoiding? What could I learn if I simply got started? Because action creates feedback, feedback creates learning, and learning creates growth. Now, I want to pause here and just say, I want to remind you, there are a lot of resources out there that are available to you at little or no cost and no money for you to invest. Let's start that over. Because action creates feedback. Feedback creates learning, and learning creates growth. Now, I want to pause here for a second, and I just want to remind you that there are a lot of resources available to you today that cost little to no money for you to invest in yourself, your goals, and your dreams. So be sure that you're looking for what's going to work for you. I just wanted to give you an example of something that was real in my life. We'd like to thank our supporting silver sponsors. KISP, who helps furniture brands visualize and sell products before specification. Navitas Credit Corp. Navitas makes great workspaces affordable, turning furniture projects into easy monthly payments. Web Configurator Services, the leader in AI-powered online product configuration and quoting. Let's talk about what's really driving business decisions today, affordability and cash flow. Now here's the win for you. Close faster and get paid 100% up front, because how many cash clients do you actually have? Bring financing in early and clients stop shopping and start saying yes, because financing isn't a life preserver, it's a closing tool. Contact Janine Waddell at Navitas Credit Corp at 609-206-4513, and she can help you with total project financing, including furniture, AV, sound masking, delivery, design, all in one single payment. Okay, so now let's go into understanding the real risk. Most people think the risk is failure. I would argue the bigger risk is standing still. Think about that for a minute. What's the cost of not trying? What's the cost of waiting? What's the cost of spending another year having the same conversation with yourself over and over and over again? Some of the leaders that I admire most understand something really important. Trying does not guarantee success, but not trying almost always guarantees stagnation or staying in the same place. You'll never discover what's possible. You'll never find out what you're capable of. You'll never create momentum, and momentum changes everything. The businesses that grow, the leaders who evolve, the people who create meaningful change in their lives and the lives of others, they're all willing to take a step before they know exactly where the path leads. So ask yourself these questions. What's the cost of staying exactly where I am today? What opportunity am I postponing because I'm waiting for certainty? What might become possible if I simply took the first step? So here's my final challenge for you today. I don't know what your thing is. Maybe it's starting a business. Maybe it's hiring your first employee. Maybe it's creating content. Maybe it's launching a new product. Maybe it's investing in yourself. Or maybe it's having a difficult conversation that you've been avoiding. But here's what I do know. The life you're hoping for is probably sitting on the other side of something that you're afraid to try. Not guaranteed, not certain, not risk-free, just possible. And sometimes possible is enough because confidence doesn't usually come before action. Confidence shows up after you've taken the first step. So this week, stop asking yourself this: what if it doesn't work? And start asking yourself, what if it does? We'd like to thank our community bronze sponsors, Catalyst Consulting Group, Prioritas, and Reseat. Hey, thanks for joining me today on the Trend Report, your inside look at the people, products, and ideas shaping the future of workplace design. If you got some value from today's conversation, be sure to follow the show so that you know when we drop a new episode. And I would really appreciate it if you would share this episode with the one person who you know needs to hear this message today. Go out there and make today great, friend, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care, everyone.